All right, guys, we're going to get started here in just a minute. We're waiting for our co-host. Don't mind the goatee. It is I got a nice cut in my lip, so I'm suffering from stitches. There's Jess.
Okay.
Can you hear us, Jess?
Yeah, I can. I can. Let me just close out.
We are on.
We're on. Awesome.
We are on.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Sean, thanks for dealing with my, we're very technical up in here.
No problem.
So today we're going to be going over some things about lists, which is exciting. I'm not sure we covered that yet in this training, have we?
We talked about Microsoft lists a little bit, but it's just a really cool, unique or technical or non-technical way to kind of keep yourself organized. Different than OneNote, different than even the Microsoft Planner, but it was like the big feature for Microsoft this year to put this out and around how you kind of keep sequences going. Like we use it for interview processing. So if we do an interview, we can keep notes, we can talk about where the candidate's at in the process, so our HR team loves it.
Yeah. I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, it's a great way to collaborate. And Sean, what are you going to be covering today?
Yeah, we're going to get into, after you're done, we're going to talk about teams again today, but I'm going to go into, if you guys are into business intelligence, and simply put, I'm just such a fan of, because we're all working remote, I need data. So we're going to talk Power BI and how it works in teams. So just like it sounds, Power Business Intelligence, it's a product in Microsoft you might already own, and maybe we'll show you some cool stuff.
Awesome, cool. Sounds good. So I'm going to start with sharing my screen here.
And for those of you who have been on our videos or our trainings before, we're recording them. They're published on our website. You get a copy. But also, if there's questions, we get a lot of them. Please ask about anything that pertains to you, to your company. We love the questions because, I know how it feels being on a training and wondering if something will do what you'd like it to do. So ask them and we'll get them answered.
Ask away. Yes. And we can stop in the middle if you have any questions. Since I'm sharing my screen, Sean, just let me know maybe if any questions come in.
Looks good.
Thanks, guys. All right. So we're going to start talking about lists. I'll just show you how to get into it first. The way I think about lists is normally when I think about a list, I think about a bullet point list from top to bottom. There are items on that list and I can kind of check them off. What lists is, Microsoft Lists, is more of, I want you to think of an Excel sheet. So you're going to see, a grid type list. It's really modifiable, but I think an improvement from an Excel sheet in that it's designable, it's customizable. You have a lot of extra controls and sharing functionality. So to get started with a list, you want to go to the team where you want the list to be created. So right now I'm in our demo team and I'm in our general. And then to create a list, you just click this plus button up here. I'm going to go a little bit slow so you guys can follow my cursor, and clicking the plus button. You'll find lists here. If you don't see lists right in your applications up here, you can search for it and it'll pop up. So just click on lists. And then here you just, basically what it's doing is it's acknowledging, okay, you want lists in this channel. So you hit save. And then you'll see that your list shows up as a tab up top right here. It's showing up as lists 1. And you can create a new list, or you can add from an existing list. You can add an existing list if you have one already existing on Teams or on SharePoint, anywhere there. But if you want to create a new list, you just click create new list. And then it comes up with a bunch of different templates. And I actually really like this because what I did was I went through the templates just to see what's possible with lists. And then I ended up creating my own, which I think is what's normally going to happen. We have some clients actually that we're walking through Teams right now, and inevitably they end up creating their own list because everyone's unique and wants a customized solution. So If I were you, I would explore these though. Employee onboarding seems to be a really popular one. You can create from Excel. So if you have an Excel sheet with lists already in there, you can actually import it from there. This is your, again, your existing list button from SharePoint or Teams. I'm going to go ahead and create a blank list to show you what that looks like. So here you're just going to create your list name. So this is a generic, it's called lists one right now. I could just call it new list name. You can describe what it is, demo list for you guys. You can choose a color. And so when you get into like the color choices and the formatting, it comes in handy later on as you continue to use lists. You might not notice the importance of it right away, but it's these things are pretty helpful down the road. And then this is what you're gonna see when you create a brand new list. It's gonna look really blank. And when I first got here and I was first learning how to use lists, I was like, hey, how does this work? Because again, I was thinking of lists as going from top to bottom, but you wanna think of it as you see these, it's divided up in columns right here. So you wanna think of it as columns. So if I want to, let's say, you know, it has these two default, right? It has title and then add a column. If I want to edit this title, I just click on this caret right here and I could do column settings rename and I could name it, you know, employee name. So I'm going to do a demo of an onboarding list. And then, so that changes the name of the column. And then if I want to add something new underneath that, and I'm going to show you a list that I kind of pre-made for a more robust demo, but I want to walk you through what it's like to be totally blank. If you want to add something under that employee name, you go new item and it brings you here. So what's going to happen is I'll show you in the more populated list, but when you add a new item in a list, you're going to get this sort of card looking thing where every single column shows up and you could just add everything for that particular line item in one view. So I'll just put Sean Farrell and I can attach a picture of Sean hearing myself in the demos. And then, you know, you'll see where pictures show up later, but basically that picture is now in Sean's, attached to Sean's name, and I'll show you how it's used in a little bit. So that's how you just get a list started. I'm going to go to the more robust list now just to show you what it's going to look like, and I'll add some more things there. Any questions yet, Sean?
None yet. And I think think about my name. I think you have to think about it as, say you were just keeping from an HR employee list, you know, you want to go in there and then maybe add LinkedIn profile or their resume or, you know, various things that pertain to them, their W-2, whatever it might be. That's where you start to really dive into the details. So they're really cool to keep track of things, and they're dynamic. So you're not always changing things on the fly.
So we were working with a law firm. And so I created this demo based on an actual checklist from them of their hiring process. Obviously with demo information, but they had, you know, all these things on it. If you go across the top to these columns up here, this is what was in their list. So their process has now gone from these like sheets, these paper sheets of information that they filled out, had to take pictures of, upload them to their system, because they did this because A, their information is really sensitive, they want it secure, and B, there's a lot of actual data in there, so they didn't want to just put it in an Excel sheet. And I just wanted to add to that, you know, Excel is also, you know, part of your Office 365 and your Microsoft license, but so is lists. And so whatever security level you have, lists is already, you know, set up for that. So you don't need to worry about security when it comes to this. And it's a really nice way to see your data. So they had, you know, your full name, they had initials. I kind of thought maybe the initials were used, you know, for something later on for them, but maybe gifts, company gifts, hire date, job title, So, and then, so there's qualitative information. There's also in their list, there was like your, yes, no things. Was this done? This list was really for a few different people in different parts of the administrative team. So, user account created, has their internal user account been created? Have they been added to the internal phone list? Employee headshot, this is where the photos start to come in. What was their bar number for their exam, things like that. What is their phone extension? So these are some things here they're going to go back to over and over again. Some things they're going to, set it and leave it. So you can see like what lists can start to look like here. And I will, so I just showed you how to add something like basically a row. So a new person. Here, I'll show you how to add a column. So you click add column and you have all these choices of different types of columns, which you could see that I've used here. So you have single line of text choice. So this is if you want a drop down choice, date and time. So when you choose these different options, it pre-configures the cell to be exactly, for that format. And it's just really helpful later on for filtering and finding information. You have multiple lines of text. So single line of text is like 255 characters. Multiple lines, I think, is over 1,000. I think it's several thousand. Is there a specific person that you want to put on here? Is it a number? Yes, no drop down, simple yes, no toggle. Do you want to put a hyperlink? So the company we were working with used hyperlinks here to link things inside the list to, let's say, sheets and other pieces of data they have inside of their SharePoint files or their company's files, wherever they live. Currency, so you can see how this is sort of picking up a little bit from Excel, just in a stylized format. So here I will add, I've already got department, so I'm going to add, let's see, date and time. No, I'm going to put yes, no. And I want to know payroll sheet complete. So have they submitted their payroll sheet to HR? Have they submitted their payroll to HR? You could put a description here. You chose yes, no, so you have that option to be yes, no. Here you can also edit that. If you decide, you're working on it, you decide, I want it to be, a person or a group instead. You can reformat it right there. I put the default values usually for no when I'm using yes, no, because I only want to see yes if it's been done. Otherwise, I want to assume that it hasn't been done. And then you have more options. This view right here is going to be specific to whatever it is that you choose as the type of column you want to create. So for example, if I choose single line of text instead, these more options, you're going to start to see other options come up for that type of cell. You can have them certain fields required. You can have certain fields, you can modify the way they look. You can add column validation. You click down there. So you can start to, you can see how you can start to actually get a lot of control here, putting formulas in to make sure that it's being filled out correctly. Once you have these things kind of systematized and automatic, it's much easier to get through. And then I just hit save. It says payroll sheet to HR was created. And then, so my tendency is, I think the natural tendency here is to want to click where you want to edit and have it just do what you want it to do for you, right? So I'm clicking here right now. It's not letting me edit. The best way to edit in this type of view, if you're in a grid view, is to click right here. You want to edit in grid view. So edit in grid view. And then here's where, it starts to look a bit more, like I said, Excel, and you can start to edit it right there. So if I want to edit multiple columns at once, I'm just going to click here. It should be showing up as yes, no drop down, but let's see. So let's say I did that and then I exit grid view. If I want to edit a single person, I just double click on that line and it shows up to edit right here. So, Oh, you know what? I forgot. I changed the yes, no to text.
Yeah, I saw that.
I forgot about that. Okay, so that was supposed to be a drop down. I forgot that I did that. So normally you'd see that drop down and then it would be yes, no. So I just double clicked on my line, my name, and that's where basically it shows every single column in one view. So I can edit each of these pieces for an individual row, an individual person in the onboarding process. And then we can also format these. Sean, if you have anything to add as I'm going through this, by the way, feel free.
The only I notice in the trainings is that people are trying to put together the pieces of how like to put this into work. So I'll give you a real example. You know, I know you guys are working on the law firm internally with us, but COVID and the need for essential businesses, we've had a ton of calls because there's a lot of legality behind. If somebody walks into my office, can I scan their head with a thermometer? So what companies are doing now is using lists, and we've set this up for them and saying, okay, so I want to be able to ask a series of questions before that employee of mine comes out or goes out on site or comes into the office. And by doing that, worst case scenario, you know, do you have a fever? Have you experienced any of these symptoms? Yada, yada. It'll actually report back into HR for that organization, in this case, ours. And it keeps the person's patient health information anonymous so that they can use the system to be able to ask those series of questions. And the HR person, if God forbid there was ever a problem, can go back and use these things to search and be able to look at it by date or see what the entries were, frankly, see if somebody didn't do it on a specific date and then, you know, was, you know, contracted COVID. So it's been interesting to see how you can use this and have people use it to track, you know, hiring, track, you know, like I say, COVID and some of the symptoms, or even some of our project managers who are using it to track different projects and what statuses they're at in the different projects they're working on. So those are some real examples. And then the thing is I can't say enough about Teams. It's an application that's standalone, but it's inside of Teams again. So it makes it a lot easier than, you know, having to go outside of Teams to get these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, shareable. So I can go into I mean, this could take like much longer than we wanted to take for me to show you guys all the features. They're pretty, it's pretty cool. I do want to show you a couple more things though, before Sean, I pass it off to Power BI. What I would like to show you guys is kind of what Sean was talking about here. There's a little filter button right here. So lists will automatically kind of pull some filterable items from your list. And so you can look at, you know, I put department, you can look at everybody on the list who's in marketing, everybody on the list who's in sales, things like that. You can pick their actual start date. You can pick specific dates or date ranges. It pulls a lot, so you can see it kind of pulls some singular items as well, but it starts to become really interesting as you start to fill it out. So I would definitely encourage you to play with it. Things like these, you know, this stylized formatting, that's totally formattable. If you want, we can click down on the arrow, column settings, format this column. So if I format this column, it already knows what the base format of the column is, which is that kind of stylized choice. So I put in the multiple choices that I wanted that to be with the departments in the firm. And then so you could choose like background colors. This becomes really helpful for if there's information missing or not. You could see it pretty easily. And then, you know, like this department. So I can actually edit styles in choice pills and start to play with the styles of each of these, change colors, change fonts, change sizes, that kind of thing. So it's really, really customizable in terms of how it looks and how easy it is to then digest. Again,
not to oversimplify it, Jess, but what we run into number one with this is companies transitioning from traditional Excel and having a lot of data in these, you know, fields and columns, asking us, you know, how do I get an element of BI, and I'll call it some business intelligence. How do I do lookbacks and searches and have sort of that pivot table-esque type play? So another example has been a large healthcare firm that has several thousand employees. They kept them in Excel through HR. And so we imported into List these columns and ultimately these Excel files. And then we were able to add to now in List that already existing employee file, and then start to add columns to that in List to be able to derive more information. And what it then did is it made it much more searchable for HR if they were looking for, I think it was they were looking for specifics on the nursing side to understand their staff count, and or people who are no longer working there. So they had a yes, no option for that. Anyway, as they were sort of ramping up through some of these, I hate to say COVID again, but some of these periods where, they weren't sure about exactly what their staffing levels are and their contract base outside of the healthcare firm.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Definitely those real life examples are obviously very helpful. Great. Well, I can go into more, but I think that covers the majority of it. I guess I should show you guys this little info button right here. This is where you can add people to share with. You can customize, those permissions of who can edit, who can view. You can see who has access, which groups have access. So you can give multiple groups or teams access to this list. And what I really, really like about this too is when you go down here to more details and you click on there, you can actually see the whole edit history of this. So if you have multiple people that are collaborating on a list and you want to see who did what last, or you maybe see that a few errors are being made, you want to talk to that person who may be making them, or acknowledge someone who's doing a great job, or whatever it is, making sure that the right people are looking at your list, you can come here and check that out.
The question came up, how do people know, how can multi-people collaborate on lists? Is it something, I'm guessing they're asking, is there a setup for it, Jess? Is it?
Yeah. So that might have come in right before I clicked on this. So when you click on that little info button right here, it's specific to the list that you're in. You can hit add people, and then you can choose people. I would probably just choose people from internal, but you can actually choose people who are outside of your organization as well if you want to give those people permission. So I can give Sean Farrell permission. He can edit. He has full control. I'll give him full control. He can also just view. So it depends on what you want that person to be able to do. You can add a message. Hey, you can edit this now. Notify people, or you can not notify people if you want, and then grant access.
Yeah. And then it also is when you're in the team itself, in this case, we're using our demo team. When you create the team, those people, depending on who are on the team, will have specific types of access to it as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I hope that answers your question. Should we get into Power BI?
We can.
Awesome.
So let me take over the screen on this one. I think Power BI is sort of a beast. So when I say that, I want to make sure that companies understand, even why it is they should be looking at Power BI. And so anyway, we'll start with Teams again. Let's go to here. So let's go back into Teams. As you see, everything we do is in Teams. So here's some stuff that we're working on in Teams, but everything we do starts there. And of course, as Jess showed with lists, that's where the applications, we can go find them, all of the above. So back to, let's just take as an example our, general Project X COVID-19, which we spelled wrong, by the way, I'm noticing now. But it is a demo. And so we can go in here and we can access Power BI, or the old trusty, people ask me this all the time, and the old Google search, go out there, type in Office 365 or anything you can think about, Microsoft Office or whatever. And typically that login will come up, so you can get to this stuff pretty easy. But Power BI, it'll pop right into your Teams app once you add it. People can do a lot of things in Power BI. They can share business intelligence reports with you. There's workspaces that you already have. There's all of the above. But let's look what is shared with me. So we, as a company, and I'll try not to show too much information on our specific stuff, but we do a lot of statistics around email marketing, tickets, I want to make sure our customers were resolving issues in a timely fashion. We want to, of course, like any company, look at it, margins and service and understand our gross margin and look at our top of the funnel pipelines for sales and, all of the above. But, one of the things that I thought I would just show you today is sort of, what Power BI looks like. And I'll pull one up here. Let's go down to, let's just say service delivery. This is some of our service delivery we do for our customers, from how long it takes per ticket to how many tickets we're getting per day. It's kind of a scary thing these days with COVID. But let's go into this one. So we'll save that. It's going to open up in, this is like an average ticket closure analysis. It's going to open up in Power BI. I'm sorry, in Teams. And this now is published to the team, depending. So typically this would go into our managed services, service management team, and it would go to our help desk manager, Derek, so he can look at the stuff, which, he already has access to. But Power BI is, very, 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 what I would say, it's kind of like a pivot table, but better. You're able to go in there and you can look at different, what we call boards. So in our case, we have different help desk levels. We have service level targets and agreements, and every company's got different things. If you're in hospitals and healthcare, we're looking at, frankly, beds and how many people are in certain floors, and ultimately how many doctors are on staff. But you get the idea that depending on what business you're in, you can triage or understand anything. So if I wanted to look at just help desk level 2 tickets, and I click on this button only, I can go in there and it's going to pull just those types of tickets that are open by particular team members. So if I'm interested in managing teams, or say I was a doctor, or I'll give you a real example, a good friendly beer company in San Diego we all probably know of, I won't say who it is, wants to understand inventories. This is the stuff that we do where companies can go in there and really understand their data. And so you can kind of see, if we wanted to drill down into certain things, like our level 2 help desk, how many tickets, how many help desk level 2 staff are working on them, the tickets, subtypes. So of course we want to understand if it's, like, for example, an email problem only. And for me as a business owner, I want to understand where are the biggest problems coming from our customers, so I can, one, provide advice to the customer on things that we might do to stop those things from happening, frankly. And that means I save time too getting calls. So I think everybody's happy. And ultimately, it's helped from a cost modeling perspective as we, try to make sure that we're optimizing costs for our customers. So that's an example of something we do from a service ticket or service management perspective. And we have all different types of ways to filter these things. By the way, ticket item, you can look at it by date. You can look at it by, even down to, we talked about ticket types, headsets, things like that people are using. And you can do it even by digging into these little items here and clicking on these dashboards, and it'll take you to another screen to see, like, how many things are in dispatch and who are they coming from by client and what type of ticket types are they, for example. So I'm giving you an example we use that our team looks at to be able to understand ticket or service management. So really cool stuff. We actually publish a lot of this to our clients who want to know more about, where things are coming from, because we do want to show that, we are taking on quite a few requests in these recent times. People's internet at home and all that doesn't work, and we want to be able to show that. So that's why we spend so much time on this business intelligence, but things that all you guys can do. If you want to go back, and I'm having that little Zoom guy up here we go. Oops, this thing keeps giving me. There we go. If I want to go into Power BI specific, you guys see up here, we have Power BI. I can go into, again, many, many different things down this left-hand column, things that are shared with me. So you guys are going to think, muted myself, sorry about that. You guys are going to think as a technologies company, we're a little nuts, but we do have a lot of things that we want to manage, from how long is a customer with us, and what is that lifetime value, to specific configurations for customers, customer profitability. We want to understand who the teams of employees are who work on customers. Our field teams, we've hired a ton of people out in the field this year who are doing a lot of remote work now, but we want to understand their active ticket counts. But I think the idea here is, you have these dashboards shared in teams for the specific team it belongs to. In this case, service management or managed services team. And I think those things are important. I was going to show you, there's another Teams notification. By the way, Teams notifications are really cool to have, but you can turn them off anytime if you guys are running into that. So let me go back to shared workspaces. Sorry about that. Let's go back over here. And by the way, you can search things as well. People are really into finance and looking at data, which, of course I am as a business owner. So you can see in these data sets anything from, we talked about lifetime value, common issues that we as a company run into with customers that have a cost to them. So think about if I'm getting tons and tons and tons of people asking to reset their password tickets, there's a cost to that because we have our burden costs in here, just like any company would. Ultimately, we want to see if we can't put in a tool to our customer to help alleviate that and make sure that they have a way to self-service password reset their own tickets. So anyway, I think you get the idea on Power BI. It's really simple to set up. It can be something that if you have an Excel file today and you want to create a Power BI table, you can. But those are the types of things that customers are starting to look at. And I don't want to go too deep into how to build out Power BI today, but ultimately, I want you to see what's possible. And so if you're good in Excel, you probably can be pretty darn good in Power BI. Is there any questions?
None at the moment.
Okay. Is there anything specific that anybody hasn't had answered for, Teams or anything like that on the call? I know people have a lot of questions about Teams. And for the newbies who are on the phone, and let me go back to Teams real quick. We've shown a lot in Teams as of recent. We talked about the activities, but the big things that are coming down in Teams now, because we're doing so much more remote conferencing and video type stuff, is that when you go into, well, first, obviously you're going through your activities, but when you start to go into things like your calendar and you set up a new meeting, Meet Now, where you just want to meet immediately, or let's go back to that. Skipping around too fast here. The new meeting, inside of meetings now, they're creating a lot more settings where you can create, what's called a focus view, or a view where it expands your screen out to see whatever the other person's sharing, or it gives you what's called a gallery view, where if you have a company conference going on, and if you guys haven't used it yet, please do, where you can go in and actually see everybody kind of sitting in feels like you're in a college classroom again with your employees. And it's pretty amazing how they put, as I would call it, butts in seats, and it really does a good job of allowing the presenter to kind of see everybody more holistically. And of course, they expanded, to where you can have, I think it's now 39 users on the screen. So a lot of cool stuff that they're doing. And then the other thing we've been showing a lot of is how you can add applications to your menu bar right down here on the right-hand side. So if I wanted to add Zoom or Power BI, or even a third party, let's say you want to make phone calls out of a different phone system, like, I don't know. Well, Ring Central, there you go, right there. You can add your phone system that's kind of bolted in onto this. So we're seeing a lot of that right now, where people have a system, they're trying to get it integrated so they can kind of get to it through Teams. It's all there. So hopefully that really helps everybody understand the power of aggregating your business, or this hub that Teams is, so that people can do, better work together. So I think that's really it for today. If you guys want to learn more about Power BI, I would just say there's a governance exercise about how it's done securely. And then there's a, hey, what are we trying to accomplish? Same thing as lists, as Jessica talked about. Is it employee onboarding? Is it recruitment? Is it, for us, project management and managing projects, whatever it might be, or you can think about, I don't think anymore you have to reinvent the wheel and build a custom application. This stuff can do it for you. So pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys have any things that you particularly want to talk about, you can email Christy or email any of us. Let us know what you want us to cover, and we'd be happy to do that. We can dive deeper into lists or deeper into any of these aspects of Teams and what you can do within the applications.
Yeah. And we really hope through these trainings, people are getting nuggets of information out of them, so they can at least go and explore these things. And as you explore them and you figure maybe this would work for the organization, let us know, and we're happy to do personalized demos for the company. Trainings are important for user adoption. I can't say that enough. We've done more trainings this year than I think we've ever done, kind of with our model, which right now is it's all about supporting the community and helping them, frankly, understand how to use the tools. Because I've had some people cuss me out before saying, I hate Teams. And then 3 months later, this beautiful CFO said to me, greatest thing I've ever had. It was the coolest feeling. And so anyway, we're all about making sure that people feel like they're getting the proper training. So anyway, thank you all. And we'll see you, I think, after the new year, right, Jess?
Yeah, we'll see you guys after the new year. You'll get some email updates on when the next training will be, and it will be in 2021.
All right, very good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.